Dennis Nilsen lived at 23 Cranley Gardens, and he, along with others in a converted semi-detached house, complained of a smell in the drains, and along came the plumber, swept the drains and brought out 2 buckets of what he thought were very odd bits and pieces. He phoned his manager, and his manager said, "Oh, we'll leave that, we'll deal with that tomorrow morning." When they went back the following morning, the buckets had disappeared. Not to be outdone, the plumber was down the drain again, and he brought out some more bits. They were taken down to the mortuary, and there David Bowen, the pathologist, Professor Bowen, said they were probably human flesh boiled and cut up.
Not only did he say that it was human remains, he said to me, your victim's been strangled. And I wondered whether he was pulling my leg to begin with. But sure enough, he pointed out this one particular piece of flesh, and he said, look, it's come from a human neck, and there's a ligature mark on it. So that gave me quite a good start, because I knew that when I finally came face to face with this character Nilsen later on in the afternoon, I knew that I was dealing with a murder case. And when he came through the door, he was Mr. Average. He looked like your average office worker. I introduced myself and lightly said to him, I've come about your drains. He wanted to know why I was so interested in his drains, and I said, well, you take me up in your flat and I'll tell you. And we went up into the flat, and I said they were blocked with human remains. And he said, oh my God, how awful. And I said, don't mess about, where's the rest of the body? And he said, it's in 2 plastic bags in the other room.
We found blood traces in the bath which indicated that he'd used the bath for the purposes of probably cutting up some of the bodies. And also we found blood traces on the stove, body fat, hair, bits of flesh.
I never thought of anything more than one body at that stage, and it was a chance remark by my deputy Steve McCusker on the way back to the police station, when Steve said to him, are we talking about 1 body or 2? And Nilsen said 15. Or in fact, I think he said 16 to begin with. It later transpired that it was 15. And the curious thing was the fact that we believed him straight away. There was no reason to think, he's talking out of the back of his neck. He was being honest with us right from the start.
The search for the bodies led police to Melrose Avenue, Nilsen's former home, where police cadets searched the garden and a piece of waste ground at the rear for human remains. So when did Nilsen first move in here, Peter?
He moved in November 1975. He moved in with a fellow called, he affectionately called him Twinkle. He was a homosexual friend, and they lived together for about 18 months here. And when Twinkle left, he had a relationship with another couple of guys over an 18-month period. And then round about 1978, I think it was December 1978, one of his potential flatmates came back here with him and didn't leave. He was victim number 1.
So how many did he kill here?
He killed 12 in all, over a period of about 4 years, I think. And he stored their bodies in that ground floor room where the French doors are. He kept about 4 or 5 at a time underneath the floorboards until there wasn't room to put another one in there, so he'd have to pull them out, and then he'd get rid of them on a bonfire in the back garden. He had 3 fires in all, 2 in the garden and 1 out here on this wasteland. He said in one particular paper that the victim is the dirty platter after the feast, and the washing up was a clinically ordinary task. We couldn't find a motive for it. The only thing that we could come up with was the fact that he invited people home because he hoped somebody was going to stay with him. And every time, or nearly every time, at the end of a good drink, at the end of an evening, his visitor would get up and go away. And on 15 occasions, this was too much for him. And he killed, and on more than one occasion, he left his victim sitting in a chair, upright, but dead. And maybe he thought, coming home from work the next day, albeit he's dead, there's somebody to come home to. I don't know.
He came to court and he pleaded guilty by virtue of diminished responsibility. That states that I'm mad when I kill, but I'm perfectly sane before and afterwards, but the judge would not accept that. And he was arraigned on the first charge of murder, found guilty, and sent down for 25 years.
He wrote, "It amazes me that I have no tears for myself. I have no tears for my victims, nor those bereaved by my actions."